I am especially excited about this next assignment. We will be talking about the ancient world, specifically the Egyptians. And as some of you may know, I love anything to do with ancient history. For this next assignment, we will be creating figure drawings in the style of the Egyptians. A little backstory about the Egyptians before we get started. They were a polytheistic society. That means they believed in multiple gods, more than one. So for instance, a goddess like Isis. She was the goddess of fertility or motherhood. Then we have gods like Seth, who was the god of chaos. He is the Egyptian version of Loki, who I'm sure most of you are familiar with from Thor. The pharaoh was the most powerful person in ancient Egypt, second only to the gods. A few noteworthy pharaohs are Khufu, Tutankhamun, otherwise known as King Tut, and Cleopatra. Khufu oversaw the building of the Great Pyramid of Egypt, otherwise known as a tomb for kings and queens, known as pharaohs. King Tut was the youngest pharaoh of Egypt. He started his reign when he was only 9 years old. Can you believe that? 9 years old. I can't imagine running a kingdom at that age. Cleopatra is one of my personal favorites. I dressed up as her for Halloween twice in a row as a kid. I know, pretty geeky, but that was me. Cleopatra was the last pharaoh of Egypt, but what she really is known for is her love affair with Mark Antony of Rome. You could say they had a sort of Romeo and Juliet love story. It did not end well for either one of them. Egyptian art served two purposes: to glorify the gods and the pharaohs, and also to help souls journey to the afterlife. The Egyptians believed that statues held the spirits of the gods or the deceased, otherwise known as the dead. It was common practice back then for tomb paintings to show scenes of the deceased past life. The reason they did this was so the departed may look back and remember what they did in their past life. The hieroglyphic script is one of the many writing systems the Egyptians used. It was referred to as the language of the gods. It consisted of different images, runes, and symbols that were symbolic of something in the real world. An example of using hieroglyphs is the Book of the Dead. It was believed that the afterlife was full of multiple dangers, such as monsters, boiling lava rivers, all sorts of things. And the Book of the Dead was a sort of guidebook for the dead. It was full of spells and tips of how to survive the underworld. Egyptian artists used balance and symmetry to create compositions that were highly ordered or organized, and it made it easy for viewers to understand. I want you to look closely at the artwork. What do you notice? Do they face frontal pose, sideways? More often than not, Egyptian figures face sideways. The Egyptians also used size and symbolism to suggest the importance of someone. So for instance, if you were a pharaoh back then, you will be portrayed as larger than life compared to the subjects. Let's say you choose to do a picture of your mom, and she is like a queen among women. You could draw her big while the rest of the family is small. Some of the gods are portrayed with animal heads, which is symbolic of the domain they rule over. So for instance, we have Horus, the god of the sky. His domain is the sky. He has a falcon as a head. Where do you usually see falcons? Falcons usually fly around in the sky. And then we have Osiris. I don't know his animal head, but you get the idea. They picked certain animals to symbolize the god's domain. The reason I am giving you all these different examples is to show you different ways you can reimagine yourself, family members, or even friends in the Egyptian style. For my picture, I chose my best friend Nikki and I. This is a picture from way back when we were Christmas shopping in December. And I just thought it was perfect for this assignment. You can see she used a little, I'm not quite sure what that is. It was some kind of trinket that we found at the Countdown Christmas shopping. And she just did my hair in the Egyptian way. It kind of looks like an Egyptian crown. You can see here, I went ahead and wrote my name in hieroglyphics. There is going to be a link on the reference page that you may use to translate your name into hieroglyphics. I am using a mixed media sketchbook, which I got at the Kimball Art Museum. You won't believe the gems I found there. It's a great store. A paper bag will also work well if you're working with watercolor or acrylic. It just depends on the supplies you have. Regular paper and colored pencils or markers work fine as well. Just make sure that you write your name in hieroglyphics and draw in an Egyptian style. All right, let's get started. So, my friend Nikki, we've been friends for a long time. She's my childhood friend from back when we've known each other for a very long time, let's just say that. And she's always loved cats. So I'm going to draw her with the head of a cat. Something else that's kind of funny about Nikki, to this day, if you dangle a rope or anything dangly in front of her, she's going to whack it like a cat and play with it. She can't help herself. That's just how she is. All right. I really miss Nikki right now. She recently moved to New Jersey. All right. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Nikki and I have been through thick and thin together. She's been my friend, gosh, as long as I can remember. We were friends together and since we were babies. We used to play Kim Possible and Sheagle in church. I mean, obviously after church, but you get the idea. I was always Sheagle. I love Sheagle. She's my girl. Flash forward a couple years, I think we were 11 or 12. And Nikki moved away to live in Greece with her grandma.
I'm gonna do some work out here and then.
But we stayed in touch. Thank God for technology. I don't know what we would have done without it. And then she moved back to the States for her college years. Oh, that's a little bit long. I want a long gown. Let's see. In case you can't guess, I've decided to make myself Cleopatra. I love Cleopatra. Anyways, Nikki moved back to the States for college, and we had a blast together. One of my fondest memories with Nikki in recent years, actually it was as recent as, when was it? I think it was Halloween. It was October. We went to Boo at the zoo together and dressed up as Elsa and Anna. She was Anna, and I was Elsa. I think the highlight of that day was little 4-year-old. She believed we were the real thing. And she just came running and leaped into our arms and gave us the biggest hug ever. I knew what it felt like to be a Disney princess for a few seconds. That was pretty magical. Nikki recently moved to New Jersey, so I'm missing her again, but that's okay. Because true friends are always together in spirit. Here we have a semi-finished drawing of Nikki and I in the style of the Egyptians. And you can see, Nikki looks nothing like Nikki, right? She has a cat head. In real life, Nikki is really a pretty girl. But here I gave her a cat face because she has cat-like tendencies. All right? So you could totally do that if you want to. Let's say you like fishing. You can reimagine yourself with a fish head. Or let's say You have a family member who is an eye doctor. You could really have fun with that. Maybe give them a whole bunch of eyes. Totally up to you what you do. It doesn't have to look like real life. Just make sure that you put your name somewhere in the drawing in hieroglyphics. It can be vertical or horizontal. It's up to you how you want to do it. Alright? Most important thing is to have fun.